Parents strongly caution the following programs are intended for mature audiences over the age of 18. These programs may contain some material that many parents would not find suitable for children and may include intense violence, sexual situations, coarse language, and suggestive dialogue.
Hello.
Hi guys.
Hello.
How are we doing for these?
Book 2. I'm so excited.
So, are you guys ready for this roller coaster that was book 2?
Absolutely.
Emerald was, because Emerald probably read this book like 2 weeks ago.
I told you. I cried.
She did.
I cried and I hated and I cried some more and I hated some more and then I got really mad and then I had to read book 3.
And then you got happy in your mad pants? No? She's not going to
That's next week's show.
Well, 2 weeks now.
2 weeks from now. There you go. That's next show.
So
this book carries on from last show's book.
Mm-hmm.
Where she stops and she looks up and the last thing she said is, "You're the Frenchman."
So Cecilia meets the Frenchman, also known as Ezekiel Tobias King. You recognize that name? That is because that is Dominic King's brother. We don't find that out. Older brother. We don't find that out for a little bit. They absolutely hate each other in this beginning of the book. I would say the first 10 chapters of the book, they hate each other very much. But they spend a very long period of time doing just that. They show how much they hate each other. But it's like, it's not so much as hate as to where they're trying to kill each other, but it's hate because it's there and there's an underlying cause for the hate. Which
this girl is one of those love to hate people or hate to love people. I'm not sure which way you look at it. But she gets really hot and bothered.
She does. And then the biggest reason why she hates Tobias is because he ripped Shane and Dominic from her and sent him away. So they would have no contact with each other. The hate that they have for each other, though, is one of those like backwards like love story hates, I think, because I don't know, it almost ranges on like that elementary school hate where they hate each other very much and then they start picking on each other and then they're like, oh no, yeah, I love him. Like there's no gum in the hair sort of thing. But it's real close. It's real close.
I don't know. If you'd have given Cecilia some gum, I'm pretty sure at some point she would have put it in Tobias's hair.
But she didn't put any sugar water in his gas tank, so at least she didn't hate him that much.
Probably didn't think about that.
This is true. So this book, like I said, it is very much a high school drama, Lindsay, you're right. But it's
very much high school drama.
But it is very pulling on your emotion strings. So if you are very sensitive to certain topics, if you're sensitive to violence or anything, this one does kind of go borderline of that violence to it. But again, I have to go back to it feeling like Fast and the Furious meets Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Yep,
Right
with a
back
little bit of Sons of Anarchy.
with just a little
Very
bit.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, very much.
So
Just
we have, what is it? What did we decide last week? It was
it was Fast and the Furious, little
Fast,
bit of Robin Hood.
Fast Hood Anarchy.
That was it.
Fast Hood Anarchy. Yes.
It's it's a roller coaster. I mean,
It is. Yeah.
Cecilia really gets kind of tossed into things because she's really nitpicking on it. She really, really wanted to know. She really, really wanted to know what was going on and how come she couldn't know and why are you keeping the secrets and I think some of the secrets in this, there's the one big one at the end that I don't know if I want to reveal. I think I kind of want to let the readers find that one out, and it's that letter part. Because that's a big secret. I think that one is left better unsaid so they can kind of go read it themselves and find that one out.
Yeah, I agree.
So
The secrets.
the last time Cecilia sees Sean and Dominic,
Aaron.
huh?
I said Aaron.
Oh. Yes, Lindsay, we are getting this roller coaster revved up and gone. So the last time Cecilia sees Sean and Dominic, she admits her love for them because she very much is in love with both of those men. It's hard to keep track
That's
of.
at the street fair.
Right. So the last time she sees him is she shares a dance with Sean inside of the street fair. And she's blubbering and she is trying to get out of her feelers and she's trying to get back out there because what is that nosy rosy name that she works with? What's that girl? Madeline?
Oh, it starts no. It starts with an M though.
The nosy lady that tells the whole gossip for everything.
Oh, I don't remember her name. Oh.
I think it's Madeline.
Yeah. Madeline?
Matilda?
No.
But she tells her to go out and go look at this orchard apple fest. And the way she describes it to Cecilia is that it is booming and it's great. And then when Cecilia gets there, she goes, it's a small town street fair. It's a small town, farmer's market is what she says. It's very much a small farmer's market. Hey, Flash Gaming. So she gets there and she's walking through the crowds and she's seeing the kids with the mom and dads and she's seeing the lovers with each other. They're swaying and they're talking and they're listening to the music and then a song comes on and somebody reaches for her hand and they start dancing and that somebody is Sean. And she just starts blubbering and he said, no, just come on, pup, let's dance. That was his what is that word? Love talk with her. He called her pup.
Pet name.
Pet name. Thank you. He called her pup all the time, and the last time he saw her was a while before that when he broke her heart in the garage. So there was that long distance between her seeing him in the garage and this dance. So the music starts playing, and they start to dance with each other. And unfortunately, he only gets to have that one whole dance with her. And he gives her a kiss, and he breaks away. And she turns around, and she's spinning around, and she's looking for him, and she tries to follow him through the crowd, and she's getting frantic. And she even in the book says that I'm getting very frantic, and I feel like I'm a lost child in a big crowd. And she starts crying because she's trying to reach for that one thing that she wants to be with, but she can't. And they explained to her that it's forbidden right now. She has to stay away. If she doesn't stay away, everybody's hurt and in trouble. And there's a reason why. And I can't remember if it's in book 1 or book 2 about Dominic's and Tobias's parents. The story is told. Is that book 1?
I think it's book 2, because in this is the one where you find out where his Dominic and Tobias's parents were in a parts of it's in part 1 and parts of it in part 2, where Dominic and Tobias's parents were in. They worked for her father. There was a fire when the plant was a chemical plant, and their parents died.
Right.
And it's part 2 that you find out, or book 2 that you find out that Ravenhood was created because they didn't like their boss. There was an issue going on. There was problems. They were trying to fight against it because they weren't making a lot of money as immigrants and all these other things. They had a meeting the night before or the night of the fire, and then when
in the book, yeah,
her father covered it up, it made it look like it was because of that meeting, like it was purposely done.
The book is this one is Exodus, the Ravenhood 2. So this is book 2 of 3. So we'll be covering the 3rd book in 2 weeks. That way it allows everybody to catch up with us. But the first book is known as what was the first book's title? Oh, gosh.
Flock.
The Flock.
Flock.
Yeah.
Flock.
The Flock. The Flock explains everything, what happens, and who Cecilia is, and who Dominic is, and who Sean is. And this is book 2, The Exodus of Ravenhood. Brothers. No. Yeah,
The Ravenhood.
So we go back to Cecilia dancing in the street fair, and she loses Sean, and she runs through the crowd, and she hears a very distinct Camaro rev up, and she's really in love with all these cars that they're driving and everything. And muscle cars always have this certain sound to them, so you know it's the muscle cars. And this is where this is where we're all talking about how it's very much like Fast and Furious, because it's all muscle cars. But she hears the distinct Camaro rev up, and she heads towards that direction of it. She gets to the clearing, and she sees Dominic leaning against the door, and then she sees Sean sliding into the car. And she's pleading with them that please don't go. Tell me what's going on. I want to be a part of this. I'm ready for it. I love you guys. You know I love you. And they just smile and they speed off. Now, they disappear for around 9 or 10 months with no contact for Cecilia at all. No text messages, no phone calls, no nothing.
They did leave her a necklace. They left the wings.
That's not yet, though. That's a little bit. Because we don't know who left that yet. So they put
it had to have been one of the 2 boys. Like, come on now. You know it had to have been one of the 2 boys that left her the wings.
I don't know, because of the wings that was left for her was not by one of those boys.
Those were not okay. You know what?
That's why I haven't said that part yet. Later on.
No. Those wings were left for her by the boys. They were left for her by the boys. Like, even she knew they were left for her by the boys.
Yes, but it never gets revealed on which boy left them.
Right, because neither of them could fess up to it because they knew it was going to cause more issues.
Exactly. Yeah. So it got to the point if they were losing contact with her that they actually put the house up for rent, and Sean that next day quit his job at the factory. So
after telling her that she was always the secret.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Stab right in the heart. So we go back to Tobias. Tobias is the head of the Ravenhood and Dominic's older half-brother. So he's a half-brother because Tobias's mother sneaks off to America with Benoit. And every time I hear that name, I think of the wrestler from WrestleMania that
yes,
family, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rick Benoit. That's every time I hear that name. So she sneaks off to America with Benoit because they come here to live with Delphine. And Delphine is the sister of his mother, and I don't think they ever name her. I don't think they ever named mom. They just named Benoit. And to trail backwards, in the very first book, they are ragging on Tyler for being a mother effer. Now, we find out in this book why she's called the mother effer, or why he's called the mother effer. Because Delphine steps in after the parents pass away, and Tyler becomes infatuated enough with her to lose his boyishhood to her.
They never knew that, though. He never told anybody about his relationship with Delphine until he told Cece.
He told Cecilia after she went over there and helped clean up the apartment because she was stricken with cancer and she didn't like how she was living, so they helped her clean it up, remember? So then later on, they found that out that it's the mother effer. Yep, not the mofo. So Tobias, he then carries the torch for the Ravenhood and expanded into the international. So we find out that it's not just local of this gang that he's part of. It's not just Miami. It's not just the West Coast. It's not just the East Coast. It's actually international. We come to find out that he has parts of the gang or the mafia over in France as well.
The hood. It's not a mafia. Don't get it twisted. It's a hood. It's a brotherhood.
Look, you slapped lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig, okay? You can call it anything.
You can make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, all right? It is a brotherhood.
Yeah, but any organization that can be charged with FICO charges is a gang.
There it is.
I will not say anything because I have read book 3, but y'all,
we'll keep going, Onyx.
It's a brotherhood.
We'll stay in this book, okay? Olive has just found out why his parents were murdered and covered up by Roman. The Ravenhood spiraled into being a local organization to help the people with local needs. It has also large dreams of taking down businesses and intelligent practices and fixing the wrongs in the country. So,
see, it's Robin Hood.
So it is very much Robin Hood. So, oh snap!
Ooh, she calling you out, Onyx. Why you know that?
Onyx worked for Fannie Mae. Let's find that out.
Hey, that's not funny. I used to work for Fannie Mae.
Oh,
Freddie Mac, get it right.
Oh, see,
do it though. So basically, it is very much Robin Hood, right? So he is really much stealing from the large CEO companies that he knows will not go and report their thefts because they're doing shady business anyways. He steals from them and gives it back to their communities in that one town. We find out that Roman, I'm not going to spoil that part, but I am going to say that Roman did cover up the fire. So he did know about the fire that killed Benoit and Tobias and Dominic's mother. There was a very large settlement that came out of it to basically cover it up and be quiet about it. So this is kind of where it starts to get very fickle, and you really have to pay attention because there's a lot of moving parts in this next few chapters. Because if you don't pay attention to what's going on over here, you're gonna miss the whole sleight of hand that happens over here. And at this point in time, Roman is no longer coming to the house. Roman stays in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he tells her unless she wants me to stay there, I will stay in Charlotte because it's just more practical for him to stay there. It's closer for work. Yeah, Lindsay, sneaky.
Very much so.
No, Brenda.
There's all kinds of cover up going on in this book.
There is, and that's why I took notes because there's a lot going on, and I want to make sure I cover all the big points. So the next thing that happens is Tobias forms a deal with Cecilia to ensure her silence and her father will never be murdered by them. So if you remember in book 1, Tobias and everybody is aiming for her father because of what he has covered up. And Cecilia said, even though I don't love him, even though he's just my biological father, I have no ties to him. She basically washes her hand of him once she finds out everything that he's into. And because of that, she still has a humanity portion to her brain that she doesn't want him hurt. Even though she doesn't love him at all, she just asks Tobias, I will keep my mouth shut as long as you can protect him and don't let him get hurt. Because of that phrase and because of this alliance between Tobias and Cecilia, I think that's what set in the motions of what happens on the staircase. But I'm not there yet. We're still getting to that point. And it's still like a big uphill part of the roller coaster, just preaching you to the top. And when you get to that top, it crashes real hard. And it hurts everybody.
Like this whole book is the whole book series is one big roller coaster ride. I can tell you that. Book 3 is not any better. You don't get off this roller coaster, guys. I'm sorry. You don't get off the roller coaster until the end of the series.
But I think this book series, out of our 5 episodes that we've done, and the 2 other books that we've done, I like this series more than I did the vampire one, and more than I did the Shadow Master or the Shadow Beast. I think
I did like the Shadow Beast, but I have to agree that this is one of the better ones that we've read, because it really does keep you on the edge of your seat, and it keeps you interested, and you have to read the next chapter. You have to read like all those memes that we throw up. It's like, I really should be sleeping right now, but I'll do it at the end of this chapter.
After the chapter never comes.
One more chapter, just one more chapter, and then okay, now I'm done with the book and I have to read the next book.
I think for me, the reason why I can keep on this is because of the action. Is because hey, you don't know what's around this corner. Rolling. Oh geez, you are. I think it's because I like the what's going to happen next. The whodunit portion of it. Yeah, there's the sexy scenes in there, but it's not like it was in the book 1. Book 1 was kids,
and even in book 1, like it wasn't the prominent theme of the book.
No,
like
you had
it wasn't prominent in any of them. Actually, it's there, but it's not.
Yeah, in book 1,
what
you had
everything circles around
of them on the lake, and then after that, it's more like touch and go sort of thing. It wasn't like the Shadow Beast series, where it was every other chapter of something happening. So I think that's why we're all kind of good with how this one's rolling through, and Emerald has read the 3rd book, so when she's keeping quiet, I'm interested now. So again, they live together in Roman's mansion, and they slowly fall in love. It's like I said, that high school drama or that elementary hate-love relationship sort of thing going on. And right when they are pressing their love, who walks up? Sean and Dominic.
Okay, but you have to preface this with saying that he's making her French toast with no cinnamon. Excuse me?
Well, he is French. He is French.
Who makes cinnamon toast with no like? Who makes French toast with no cinnamon? No.
Yeah.
Okay, so she goes to put cinnamon in there, and he tells her no. So she ends up blowing it on him, and he ends up blowing it on her, and she's wet. And I don't know. Somehow they end up outside because she's running away. He's covered in cinnamon, then she's covered in cinnamon, and Dom and Sean walk up.
You can't just say she's wet. She means that she just got out of the shower, so her hair is still wet, and her body is still wet. That's what happened in that book. It wasn't
what I meant.
hard. It wasn't. Yes.
But
Okay.
I'm sure by the end of it, she was wet the other way too.
We're just talking about that part too. So I was trying to clarify for the ladies and gentlemen in the series here. Okay, guys? So it's just all sex. So you're right.
That's what I'm saying, Ron.
Right?
He makes French toast without cinnamon.
So
The Frenchman.
he chases her and they frolic through the garden and I guess they roll and tuffle and she's trying to get up and he licks the cinnamon off her and he finally professes that, you know, she tells him, I love you. And he says that, it is exactly what I meant. That's not what I meant, Lindsay. So she very So he very much finally admits by taking her hand and putting it on his chest that he is very much leaving his heart for her, which in a roundabout way, because he never says it, that he does love her. Because this is his one selfish act that he has done. Because he is always taking care of everybody else, but he never takes care of himself.
Selfish.
Self what?
Selfish. It's a selfish act.
What did I say?
Selfless.
Oh, I mean,
he's always selfless, but he needs to be selfish because he wants her for himself.
It's true. Okay.
Right.
I mean, he could lock her up in a castle and, lock her up there like Shrek did, but we're not gonna.
We're not talking Rapunzel here, okay? No Rapunzels.
So they're ruffling on the ground, and who slams the gate and is seeing everything that's going on? Of course, the two people in the world that you didn't want this to see. Sean and Dominic walk through the door, and a lot of nasty verbiage goes back and forth. Basically, she goes and says, just come out and call me a whore. That's what you want to do. Just do it. I mean, it's okay for y'all, but not okay for me. They were gone for 9 or 10 months, and I'm expected to stay here, and you guys left me no contact, nothing. And the one that was the most hurt, I think, and I couldn't figure out which one was hurt most, I think it would be Sean, because he actually had some tears rolling down. But then Dominic had his own quiet, like,
internal turmoil.
Yeah, because he did say that it hurt a lot because you were with them first, and then I guess she can get around.
But that's one of the things that Tobias really had a problem with is the fact that they shared her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to him, she is something to be cherished. She is something to be just loved and adored and treated with kid gloves and with just, like, she is a treasure. And her kid brothers, he calls them his kid brothers, like both of them. His brothers tossed her around like she wasn't important.
Right. And the weird part is they both, again, so both guys fall in love with her as just as much as she's falling in love with them. And Tobias did say in the story that I could never share you with anybody, and I would never share myself with anybody while I'm with you, while we're doing this. Because he
doesn't understand that they love her.
Right.
And she loves them. He doesn't understand the deepness of that feeling because, again, to him, you can't be shared like that.
So,
but we do have to go to a commercial break, so we are going to leave it on the boys finding him with her and destroying him.
Yep.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
And of course, we know after reading this book that Tobias would never be caught dead drinking that coffee, but our readers should definitely try it out, especially because you are going to want to read this book in a night and you are going to need the caffeine.
You definitely are, because this is, I told Emerald this, and she knows this. I'm not a fast reader. This has 438 pages. I normally let myself go through it so I can grasp all of it. I read this in 3 days, 4 days. I couldn't put it down. I just couldn't do it. Even though there's 52 chapters, but I read it in like 3 or 4 days. And I was like, I got to read the next one. I need to know what.
Yeah.
So this
11:45 at night, Mother's Day, I get a text message. Happy Mother's Day. Have you read the third book? Because I want to start it.
I did. I totally did. I threw it out there.
I'm like, thank you. Happy Mother's Day to you too. And yes, I have. Go right ahead.
But look, at least I first threw the compliment. And then
Yeah. It was Happy Mother's Day first, and then it was Have you read book 3? Because I want to read it. Yeah.
So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, this is where you guys really need to buckle in, because we are about to go on some loops and swoops, and this is going to be heart-wrenching in the next couple of minutes, okay?
Hold on.
I'm not. You ready?
Okay, go ahead.
Aww.
You got your tissues?
No.
You get serious. All right.
It's okay.
So,
I'll just
Sean,
use my hair. Okay.
so let's slowly put you in there. I'm going to put my toes in the deep end just to touch the water first, okay? So Sean and Dominic are out of the country just so he could have Cecilia to himself. So he sent them away, Tobias did. He was jealous of the relationship and acted on it, hurting Cecilia even more, broke her even more. Cecilia ended it with Tobias, and Sharon, Dominic ended with Cecilia. So I totally did not put that note correctly. His name is Sean.
Sharon, just not Dominic. Okay, Sharon, Dominic. All right. Okay.
Shane and Dominic completely ended with Cecilia, 100%, and it's over. Cecilia decides to pack up her stuff and head back to Atlanta when she wakes up drugged with Raven tattooed on her back. The wings were put on her back. She goes and takes out her anger on Dominic and Sean. Here's the thing. It went total ex-girlfriend psycho on them. She had a gallon of gasoline. She split all of their tires, and she was about to toss it all on fire. What happened?
Hold on. So I want to back up a little bit, because the scene where Sean and Dom find her and Tobias, as they're going through the narrative of that, I think it's really important to note that she didn't know that Tobias had sent them away as punishment for bringing her into all of this.
Right.
He had specifically tried to keep her out of it. And as soon as he found out that she was even in existence, his plans for her father changed, because he didn't want it to impact her. He viewed her as an innocent since she was born.
Yep.
The way that they describe that scene and the hurt that is portrayed from all sides was absolutely phenomenally written. It was probably one of the best portions of a book that I've ever read, because how well she conveyed the emotion that all of them were feeling in that moment.
You're right.
And then she was just like, fuck you guys, I'm done. Get the hell out.
You're right. I think that one was another heart jerker on it, because she was pulled in all 3 different ways, because she does love all 3 of those people. And it's in the book, it does say that Tobias steps in front of her a couple of times when the men are starting to advance on her, or the looks, and he starts to do his roar or his growl that he does. So you're right. That part is really important. I think when you read that chapter yourself, you'll just get the whole emotion. We can't give it justice on how well it's written. And that part is very well written. But Onyx, I can't beat around the bush. I have to talk about this next portion. Are you ready?
Yep.
Emerald, are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you are buckled and seated in upright positions. We are about to take off. This could be a very, very, very bumpy ride, and expect some turbulence. Okay.
Just a little bit of turbulence.
So Dominic follows her back to the house after she has just threatened to turn everything on fire. And she actually does. She tosses the match and she speeds off in her Jeep.
Only
Dominic,
after she slices the tires of every car in the lot.
well, I did say that.
Yeah. But she starts a fire that is just literally a wall of fire so that she can get away.
Yep. So Dominic follows her back to her house when Tobias is also at. Dominic and Cecilia.
She doesn't go home right away.
Well, you're right. So they go storming through the mountains, and she's trying to lose them, make sure that they don't know where she's going. And she makes it to the house, and she's starting to try and shove her stuff in a suitcase and get out of there so she couldn't be followed and she can't be caught. However, Dominic shows up. He came up across up the staircase, and there is a gun in his waist belt. She thinks the worst. She thinks that he's there to kill her. However, he goes and says to her and looks at her as she's eyeing the gun, and he says, "Look at me. You know me." She goes, I don't know you. He goes, "No, you know me." So he takes the gun, and I hated her for this part. He takes the gun and he chunks it down the staircase. Down the staircase. He pulls her towards him, and they start talking. And he says, "No, you know me." And the Miami crew shows up. 2 people in specific.
He tells her during that conversation that they're having that he's never seen his brother as happy as he has with her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very poignant point in the book because as much as he loves her,
Mm-hmm.
and he is pissed off at her and his brother for hurting him and Sean the way they did, he still loves them both enough to say, "You make my brother happy, and I want that for you both."
Mm-hmm.
And then Miami shows up and fucks everything up. Go ahead.
So Miami shows up. One of them shows up. He closes the door, and Dominic comes around the corner, and he's staring at, I think his name was Andre. He's staring at Andre, and they have words back and forth. "Hey, what are you doing here?" "Well, you know what I'm doing here." And then Cecilia comes around the corner, and Dominic says, "Get back in the room, baby. Get back in the room." She's not listening because she has no idea what's going on. She looks down at Andre's hand, and he's holding a very long knife. Very long knife. Now, this Miami crew, they're known as the Spanish Lullaby. Spanish Lullaby is just that. That is all you hear after you get slit up and you're dead. That's it. They are hitmen. They are paid contract killers. And Dominic is trying to negotiate with him when all of a sudden Tobias comes out of Roman's room. Tobias goes and says, I don't know why you're here, but whoever's paying you, I will double it to pay you. I will double it, and that way you can leave. And the words are, "Well, my brother's here too. Have you found him?" And Tobias is, "Oh yeah, he's laying down in the other room. He's taking a nap. Come look at him. Just come look at him." Cecilia now is between Dominic and Cecilia is really between Dominic and Tobias at this point. She has been told to stand by Tobias, so she is slowly walking towards Tobias, and out comes of the bedroom the other brother, the other half of the Spanish Lullaby. Now, Tobias is on this wall. Cecilia is right beside him, and then you've got Dominic on the staircase, trapped between the two lullabies, right? Words are exchanged, a very heated moment, and the way they're describing it in the book, I love this part because it makes you feel that you're immersed into this portion of the room. It has that I hate to be cliche, but it has that Bad Boys feeling, the one from the 90s, where you're watching everything go on and it goes through the room and you see everything that's going on from all the different points of views. And the lullaby says, you know, we can't leave. And then at that point in time, you hear a doorbell.
Ding dong, ding dong.
And then on the ding dong, Tobias goes, who's at the door? And Andre says that there's a few other people at the door. You better let them in. They're going to come in anyways, but might as well let them in so they don't break the door. At that point in time, you ready, Emerald?
No, but go ahead.
Okay. At that point in time, Dominic turns to Cecilia and says, I loved our stormy days. I loved reading the books with you. I loved laying and reading and everything. Remember those stormy days that we would have? And Cecilia said, yes. And Tobias said, don't do this. Cecilia hadn't caught on what's happening. But as he's talking to Cecilia, he's taking one step closer to Andre. One step closer to Andre. Because at this point, there's only one of two ways that this is going to happen. Cecilia's going to die because now Andre has Dominic's gun. Or Dominic is going to die because Andre has the gun. So Tobias is pointing his gun at the brother, and the brother's taunting him as well, saying, what are you going to do? You can't save both of them. Are you going to save the brother? Are you going to save Cecilia? She looks very fine. I would want a piece of her too. This is what she's worth. And this whole time, Dominic is telling Tobias that she's a good person and keep her safe and survive all this. And Tobias said, no, don't do this. Don't do this. We can work this out. And as he's saying that brother that is on the other side of Cecilia gets ready to lunge. And before he lunges, Dominic lunges at Andreas on the stairs. He kicks him and he lands on the ground. And as soon as he can turn and he's running back up the staircase, you hear a shot and a shot and a shot. One of the gunshots is at the brother, kills him straight dead in the forehead. The other 3 shots land on Dominic. He gets shot in the stomach, he gets shot in the shoulder, and then the 3rd shot, he gets shot in the leg. Tobias runs around the corner and shoots at Andreas, but he doesn't die yet. So Cecilia and Tobias grab Dominic and they run back into the bedroom. Cecilia has no idea what's going on, and she's freaking out as she's laying there with him in her lap. And he's saying that you need to survive this and live on. And don't worry about it. It's all going to be okay. Stay together. Stay together, no matter what. And as he says that, he looks up at Tobias and says, brother, I will always be your brother. Because before that, they had a fight and said they don't want to be brothers. And that was the last breath. And Cecilia's freaking out because then his eyes go dim, his mouth goes slack, and his body stays warm. He has had his last breath, and he is no longer there. And she can see it, and she is freaking out. And then the next thing you hear is gunshot, gunshot, gunshot running up the staircase, and Tobias is freaking out because he has no idea who's on the other side of the door. It pauses for a second. The door opens up, and now we got to go to a commercial break. All right, guys, it's going to go real fast. You ready for this? So, the door, bang, 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 bang. Tobias, Dominic, Cecilia, there? It's Sean. They open the door up. Sean has 3 bulletproof vests. He gives one to Tobias. He looks over at Cecilia and then realizes that Dominic is in her lap. And he freaks out also, but there's no time to completely freak out. He puts a vest on top of Cecilia, and they push her. Oh, don't push her. They lower her down on the other side of the balcony, and from there it gets real fast. You ladies good so far?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. The Miami Factor of the Raven Hood shows up with a hit on Roman. But he wasn't there. His car was there, but he wasn't there. It was a setup. They planned to kill Cecilia. Tobias and Dominic save Cecilia's life, but Dominic is brutally murdered. And they force Cecilia to run and tell her to never come back. Never look back. Never call. Never write. Don't inquire. Just keep going. Tyler was supposed to call Cecilia the next morning to explain to her that everything was okay. And she waited on the roof of her car for a phone call for hours and hours and hours. Before she got to the parking lot, she was told, don't stop before you get out of the state. When you get out of the state, then stop at the first gas station you see and wash up and put this dress on. She's cut. She's got blood all over her hands. She realizes she has it caked on her face, and she's really hard trying to scrub it off with the little bit of water that she has. She then rushes into the bathroom, washes her hands off to get the rest of Dominic off of her, but she didn't want to because that was the last of his essence that she'll ever have. Then she gets a phone call and finds out that everybody's okay. You hear a Zippo in the background and a huff, and they're both okay, but no other words. Then we jump 6 years in advance. Cecilia ends up with a wealthy businesswoman later who is engaged. Yes.
Hold on. Time out. So she got the phone call.
Mm-hmm.
She did have a conversation with someone on that phone call.
Yes, Layla. I'm sorry. You're right. She had a phone call and talked to Layla. And Layla said, hey, girl, we're all okay. Everybody's fine. Don't worry about it. If just you do you and don't come back. Well, no, I can come back. No, you're better off there. You never need to come back. You're good. They're good here. Just keep going. Right?
They heard the click of the Zippo, which was Sean. And then she heard the ice 3 times in a glass.
Yep.
Because that was Tobias's thing. Tobias has OCD. So he does everything 3 times. And so she heard the click of the glass, ice in the glass 3 times. And then Layla came on.
So Cecilia ends up as a wealthy businesswoman later on who is engaged but can't fully love him because she's still stuck on Tobias. Colin. Did anybody else think of Colin as a skinny little kid that like had big old glasses and he was a nerd because of his British accent? No? Just me? Okay, let's keep going.
I never really pictured Colin at all.
He was just one of those characters that he has to be in there to keep you going on what needs to keep happening. He's one of those side characters that, that can die, and it's okay because he's not a main character. Sort of thing. Later on, Roman died of cancer 4 years after she had left Twin Falls. And then we find out Sean is now married to Tessa. Tessa was the girl in the dress shop that would always help her out. She was the one that Cecilia was trying to hook up Tyler with, but Tyler came in and he wasn't okay for her. But when Sean came in, oh buddy, that was the cake she wanted. They are now married with 2 children. So
you don't find that out until book 3.
No.
Yeah, you're dipping into book 3.
You find that out in book 3.
No, she has 2 children.
Nope, that's book 3.
But 2 children. I didn't say anything about 3 children. I said 2 children.
You don't find out that he's married to Tessa until book 3.
That's not true at all. That's not true because in book 2, she goes into the dress shop to say, hey, how are you doing? And Tessa gives her the cold shoulder as she's helping out this other lady that's trying to try on a dress. This is book 2.
Book 3, because she doesn't go home in book 2.
She does. I haven't read book 3 yet. She goes home. She quits it off with Colin. This is when she comes back to Twin Falls.
Okay.
Now, Deanna, I think she's right. This is the end of book 2.
Very well be right.
Book 3, we start out with her living in the little town, running the cafe.
Because
you
remember,
messed up, Aaron.
You're right.
You just think, okay, so now we know
Aaron's jinxing us tonight.
All Aaron's fault.
Yeah, blame Aaron.
Cecilia ends it with her fiance and comes back to Triple Falls to sell her father's business. And she realizes that Tobias is now wanting to buy it. This is book 2 still, hon. Cecilia forces Tobias to spend time with her so he can realize that she still loves him. But he is seeing someone else and refuses to be with Cecilia. What's her name? Angelica? Alicia. Yeah, she's the one that originally
of the
Miami
Ravenhood brother from book 1.
Yeah, so she's the one that really likes Sean, and she's told her off already.
You also have to mention that he has her arrested for speeding and for marijuana in this book.
Well, we've only got 7 minutes. I'm trying to wrap it up.
Wrap it up, girlfriend. Come on.
I'm trying. That's why I took notes, because there's a lot of stuff that you guys need to go fill out yourselves. So Cecilia spirals real bad. Tobias ends up ending his relationship with Alicia, but refuses to get back with Cecilia, even though he loves her. And the way he went to her house that one last time was a doozy. He showed up drunk. He basically took her clothes off of her, or he took her clothes off, and the shaboink boink happened. And she's like, fine, we're going to do this. Fine. Just take off all my stuff, too. Sean gifts Cecilia Dominic's old car that she loves. She goes to the garage that Sean could just never give back up and uses Notebook app or Kindle. So so Emerald and I think Onyx does too, we use all Kindle to be able to read the book. And then on this book series, they actually have an option to listen to it on Spotify. Mm-hmm. You can actually click onto it and listen to it via Spotify if you like the audiobooks better. Which, Onyx, did yours have a French accent in this one?
It did, because the Spotify and the Audible are the same narrator.
Okay. So Sean gives Cecilia shaboink. Florida talk. That's what that is. Sean gives Cecilia Dominic's old car, and she loves it. And you're very much welcome. She spills out, and she drives like a maniac. Now again, time warp. 8 months later, Cecilia has given up most of her millions, and she owns a small diner in a small town in Virginia. And she lives alone and single when she notices Tyler on the TV. That's the only portion I'm going to talk about, that part. I'm sure that part goes into book 3. So I'm not going to touch any more on that one. But I am going to say that Tyler is guarding the newly elected president out of nowhere. Tobias.
Is it though? Is it out of nowhere?
Yeah, he was in the reserves. He wasn't anybody. Then, as she's leaving, because she saw Tyler on TV, she freaks out and she looks around and she says to one of the girls that's working there for her to go ahead and do the cash drop for the end of the night. She then exits the diner. Tobias has shown up and he wants to try and win her back. And they agree to try and work it out with her issues. So that's where I'm going to stop it at. I'm not going to tell you anything else. However, in this book, there is a letter that she does find when she goes to sell the house. And in that letter explains everything about the fire. I'm not going to touch about that, ladies. That way you guys can go and read the book on this one. And then when you guys come back, and ladies and gentlemen, you're right. I apologize. So ladies and gentlemen, next in 2 weeks, when we come back for our next episode, tell us what you thought about that letter. Did it blow your mind like it blew all of ours? Ugh, I know. I'm so sorry. Now, we get to the nitty-gritty. Miss Emerald, what did you think of the book?
I liked it. I thought it was very well written. I did not like that Dom died. I did not like that he died so soon after the heartbreak. But like we were talking earlier, I really think that through this experience with bias and with everything, she learned more about herself and her independence. But I really liked the book. I would give it 3 gems. Total straight up 3 gems.
3 gems. Ms. Honest, what you got over here?
I had a hard time with it at first. At first, I was really, really irritated at Cecilia because I was like, how do you love these two and want to be with these two forever? And now you're boinking somebody else. Shaboink boinking somebody else.
Shaboink boink. Oh, I think she froze.
She froze.
Just as we were going to get her. All right. So I wrote this note too. So I absolutely love this book so much. I don't know if I've said that enough because I really liked this one. I was really excited about the ending. I didn't want to stop the book because of how good the ending was. But I wanted it happily ever after for somebody in the book. At least we got one for Sean because now he has 2 kids. And one of them he does name Dominic. So I understand the Dominic's portion of where he had to die, but it was one of those you didn't want him to die because of it. I'm going to give this a 3. I'm going to give this a 3. It's a solid 3. Solid 3. I think we could have had an all 3 night. Unfortunately, Miss Onyx is not here to give her input. But Emerald, you think it was a pretty solid 3 all night?
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was a solid 3.
I mean, it was everything from the moment she got into his Camaro to that time that she realized that she needed to break it up with Colin and understand that she doesn't need to drag somebody else down just because she was dragged down. That was a big.
So Onyx just said she gives it 3 stars as well.
Woo! All 3. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that is the roller coaster that is Exodus, the Ravenhood Book 2.
And there are so many more bits and pieces to this roller coaster, guys. Like, you really have to read the book to understand all of the roller coaster of it. But before we go, please remember we are every other night. We are moving to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We do have Chronic Sports on Wednesdays at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. I got to remember what time zone I'm in for some reason. We have Buzzkill at 10 Eastern, 9 Central. I forgot my time zones again. We have our new show, Sound Injection. If you guys have not seen last week's show, please go and look. Eve to Adam was freaking awesome. I can't wait for next one. Don't ask me the name because all I remember is Sister something. It's going to be awesome, though. I can't wait for next week's. We have Hellfire Lounge. Oh, he popped in and I missed it.
He said it too fast. Sister something.
Sister Kill Cycle.
Sister Kill Cycle, May 17th. Then we have Hellfire Lounge every other Saturday at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, and Flash Gaming on Sunday, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. And the new band, which the producer is going to come in any second now and say the name of because I don't remember it.
What are you talking about?
Your band.
Oh, Kangaroo Cage Match?
That one. Kangaroo Cage Match. All right, guys. There you go.
haven't done so already, please go ahead and like this video or like any of the platforms that you're on. Go ahead and subscribe it so you don't miss any new upcoming talent or any upcoming information or the next books that series we're going to be talking about, because it's just going to keep rolling from here, guys. We're just going to go up and down some more of those roller coasters. Like, subscribe, and comment on any of these posts. And if you're on Facebook, we're under porno. Ooh, we're under Paranormal. Please find us there and comment.
I did not realize we changed our name to Porno Gems. Okay, it's good to know. I still go by Paranormal Gems. I don't know what book club she's in, but whatever. It's cool. Yes, like, share, follow, subscribe, guys.